Hey everybody, my name is Logan Wassel. This is EDC Kansan, and today we're going to do an unboxing as well as an installation tutorial for some Daily Customs scales for the Victorinox Compact. Let's get to it. We do have some additional tools on the table to help us take off the old scales and install the new ones. You do have to glue the new ones on, so if you decide you don't like them later on, you're going to have a pretty tough time getting them off. But I'm pretty excited about these ones. I think they're going to look pretty good. So we're just going to start with the unboxing. So Daily Customs does do a nice job just sending you this box here with this little ribbon wrapped around the box. And I'll just take the top lid off there. We got some things falling out, but right away you have some screws because this does come with some holes in one of the sides of the scales if you want to put on a pocket clip at any point later on. It does fit pretty much any standard Benchmade pocket clip. Right over here is the certificate of authenticity from Daily Customs. It just gives you some information as to exactly what product you bought and the serial number and stuff like that. And then if you decide you want to follow along with their instructions, there is a QR code here that will help explain that further. And lastly, we have the scales themselves. The ones that I got are brass. I think they look pretty nice. I'm in the process of building out kind of an all brass EDC, and I was really excited to get these in the mail, and I'm really excited to get them put on my compact. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take off the old scales, and I have this little Walmart gas station multi-tool that just has this bottle opener or can opener on it. I'm just going to use that to kind of dig underneath the old scales to kind of pry them off a little bit. First thing you're going to want to do is take out all of the extra tools that come in your scales if you have any. For me, since this is the compact, I do have the tweezers, the pen, as well as the toothpick. And so what I'm actually going to do, I'm just going to take this little sharp end and I'm just going to wedge it right underneath where those tools go. And it's a little hard to get under there at first, but once you get a gap started, it should make it a little bit easier. You just get it through there and then you slide it down and eventually they'll just pop right off. That one wasn't too bad. And then with this side, there we go. So they just popped off a little bit. Getting the first bit of it off is a little tougher, but then just like with the other side, you work it down a little bit and they will eventually come off. There we go, pop right off. I'll put these ones over on the side. The Victorinox Compact does have a little pin that goes in the bottom scale. I am going to lose out on that, but I don't use it too often anyway, so I'm not really worried about missing out on that feature in the future. I did get the version of the Daily Custom scales that have some cutouts for the tools that come with the original, so I will be able to put the tweezers, the pen, and the toothpick all back in this. One of the next things I'm also going to do is to clean off this a little bit. They recommend getting some degreaser, so I just have this bottle of nail polish remover from my wife, and it has a lot of acetone in it, so I'm just going to use that with an old microfiber cloth to kind of wipe it clean. That way the new scales can adhere to it really well. Just unscrew this, and like I said, I've got an old microfiber cloth here, so I'll just dab that a little bit. This Victorinox Compact is not super old. There's a good chance that I wouldn't have needed to do this. No surprise there, it's already pretty much good to go. I've just got a paper plate because I do need to mix some epoxy, and it specifically said on the packaging that it bonds well with metal, so that's just what I went for. And so here I'm just going to use this syringe to put a little bit on this paper plate here. That should be plenty for what I need just for something like this. I also got a popsicle stick so I can stir up the epoxy a little bit, and I'll also end up using this to apply it. Now that I've got this nice and mixed up, I'm just going to lightly brush it over the scales. This is going to be a little tougher since I do have the cutouts for my tools. I'm going to have to avoid where those are going to go in. That way they do not also get epoxied on there. I'm going to want to make sure I fill in those holes where the pins to the knife go, because that is what mainly holds it on. With the normal scales, they'll just snap into that. And if you get some on the edge, you don't have to worry about it too much. You can always just get a credit card or a gift card and just kind of scrape off the edges that you accidentally got and they seep over. So now that I've got this one all good, there we go. This one's going to be a little bit tougher because it does have 2 cutouts for the tools as well as the holes for the pocket clip for those screws, and so I got to be really careful with where I put it on this one. There we go. So now that that one is there, I will just snap that on. There we go. Got that snap on there. I'm going to leave the corkscrew out just in case it seeps through there at all. Then I do have some clamps like this. I'd recommend that you get some like that just to kind of hold it in place while the epoxy is setting. Now we just sit and wait. Alright, so I decided to take the break to go eat. So for me, it's been about 45 minutes. I'm sure this is plenty long enough to take off these clamps. So that's just what I'm going to do here. Just kind of one at a time. Thankfully the clamps didn't leave any crazy marks on this. But yeah, so it looks like that's it. I now have a brass Victorinox compact and I'm pretty happy with it. And I will just put all of those tools back in place. They do go above the scales just a little bit. I think the brass ones are actually a little bit thinner than the original red ones. So there's a little bit of a curved lip that's sticking up over that, but it doesn't bother me too much. And if it really bothered you, you could just kind of get some sandpaper and rough it down to make it flush. I ended up deciding to leave the tweezers out for a little bit, just since they are a little more springy than the other tools. I don't want it to push out the scales a little bit. Since I didn't put on a ton of epoxy, it was starting to come apart just a little bit. So I'm probably going to leave the tweezers out until they completely cure. But other than that, this should be good to go. If you want to put on a pocket clip, then I'll just give you an example of what that's going to look like. I personally am not going to put one on because I keep it in my pocket rather than clipped on outside. But if you want, then you can just grab some of these screws that Daily Customs includes. It's going to be the same as any basic Benchmade clip. So I have a spare Benchmade mini deep carry clip that I'm not using right now. So I will just kind of line that up and get this screwed in. So as you see, even with the deep carry clip, it's not a completely deep carry. You are going to have it stick out of your pocket just a little bit if that's something that you really care about. But I think it looks pretty nice altogether. Also, Daily Customs has some clips that they make that are milled that fit with this really well, that match the style. But of course, Benchmade clips are pretty common in the EDC world, and there's a good chance that if you are an EDC fan or a knife collector, you probably have an extra Benchmade clip lying around somewhere. That's all for this video today. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at edc.kansan, as well as just EDC Kansan on Vero. Also, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe right here on YouTube to see more content just like this. See you guys next time.